So today we have another hot topic. Yes. When you think about the history of fashion, you think as far back as the 1920s, just after World War I, when the women were just picking up from all the pieces from the war. And one of the big takeoff in the roaring 20s was fashion. And now we think we're in the 21st century. Where are we with fashion? Yes, fashion industry today is second to none. But where does that leave us Christian women? Are we a part of this? Are we keeping up with the fashion? Or are we still back in the 1920s? Welcome back to Uncovering My Voice, the Christian Women Talk Show where we listen to your story. Today, we will be talking about some of our lived experiences, some of our stigmas, some of the stigmas associated with Christian women and their dress and how they choose to adorn themselves. And we will be looking at it from the environment of church, home, work, and the beach. But before we go into that, I just want to remind you to subscribe to my channel, Uncovering My Voice, and like this conversation. Let us hear your story by writing it in the comment. So today I have with me two beautiful ladies. These are my friends, Toneil Knight. Toneil is a teacher. And we have Ashley Grant. Ashley is a stay-at-home mom with her beautiful 2-year-old daughter, but she also works from home as a customer support associate. Ladies, welcome to Uncovering My Voice.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so we're just going to get right into this. We're going to talk about Christian women and how we choose to adorn ourselves. So my first question is, what is the dress code for Christian women? Is there a dress code, and what is it? Who determines this dress code?
Well, I do believe there is a dress code. There isn't a specific guideline as far as what garments you should wear per se, but I do think that, again, this is left to interpretation, being modest, holding yourself to a certain standard of whatever that looks like to you, of being respectful to yourself. Again, every church may have different rules. I grew up in a church where we did not wear pants to church. You did not wear skirts that didn't go past your knees. Even like during the week, you did not wear pants. That was the church I was raised in. Then as I grew up, I wore pants to school. I never wore pants to church, and I think that was just something that was ingrained in me. But as you know, times have changed and things have changed. I don't see anything wrong with wearing pants. I have a certain standard for myself and what makes me feel comfortable. And I think that as long as I'm being respectful to myself, others, and God, then that is the dress code.
Okay, I have a question, but I'm going to let Ashley give me her take on the question. Ashley?
If there's a dress
what is
code?
what is the dress code for Christian? Is there one in your estimation?
So I guess, well, let me clarify. Are we talking just about church, or are we talking about
Christian women?
in
Is
church?
there a dress code for Christian women, generally speaking, right now? Or you can speak to church. I'm good.
Generally, I don't think there's a specific dress code when it comes to like your everyday wear. When it comes to church, I think the dress code, if you want to call it that, is more like Toneil was saying. Typically, girls or women wear dresses or skirts. It comes down to like at least your knees or longer. Usually, no really deep cleavage showing. I have heard about like the sleeveless, but I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. But typically that is the dress code, like a certain length for like your garments.
So based on this, do you think this is all made up? It's based on somebody makes the rule and just based on their understanding of modesty. What do you think?
Go ahead.
I like it.
You could go ahead.
Well, absolutely. Well, just like with every organization, there are going to be rules and regulations that you
Right.
have to abide by. So I believe that the church, whenever back in the day, they set aside a certain rule of how people should dress.
Right.
But again, that changes as we evolve and grow, and as times change,
Right.
there has to be some room for growth, for interpretation, for
Individuality,
change,
yeah.
and individuality. Absolutely, right? But again, just with every organization, there are rules. So sometimes you are going to have to abide by certain rules.
Yes.
When you're doing certain things or participating in a certain way. I am not against churches having rules, but again, you have to also be aware that people are not always going to abide by the rules.
I remember when I was younger, way younger, there, I'm from Jamaica, as we all know. There is like people used to just look at people and be like, oh, there goes a Christian woman based on certain things they have in their mind. Like I've never been told that there goes a Christian woman. And there were a few criteria that they use to make that kind of assumption that you're a Christian woman. If you had natural hair, if you had wear a long skirt down to your maybe ankle or over your knee, and just pretty much some way of expressing yourself that is not common to everybody. So in my mind, there's a dress code that is not really, I would say, sustainable in the church. So I remember one time I was coming from the university. I was rushing to go to a service at church. It's crusade, and I wanted so badly to go to the crusade. But I was coming from university. I was wearing my jeans, pants, and when I got there, there was a woman at the door, and she held her hand across the door. I remember it vividly. She said, "You can't come in here," and I was turned away and had to go home. So that's where I have a problem with that. Women, we're allowed to wear pants. Why aren't we allowed to wear it in church? What is wrong with pants in church?
I can't speak to what other people believe or, again, that lady at that time, I believe she was probably following the rules of the church and the way she was raised and
For sure.
what she's accustomed to.
Right.
But I believe in come as you are, right? So I don't believe anyone should ever be turned away. If the church is a place that we accept all and that is here for, people who are in need, turning them away based on their dress is not something that shows love. And
Right.
to me, Christ is love and God is love. And as Christians, that's what you should be showing.
That's right. Thank you for that. I like that point. What's the difference is there any correlation between modesty and sexy? Can a Christian woman look sexy
While being modest.
while being modest?
I think so. Yeah.
What is sexy?
Well, sexy can sometimes relate to, in terms of your dress, like how your clothes are fitting on you, if it accentuates your body, your curves and stuff. But sexy could also be confidence too. So
Exactly. I like
that plays
that.
a
I
role
like that.
because someone could have a nice body,
Yes.
right? And their clothes look good at them, but if they have no confidence, then they're just like walking around like this.
Yeah,
Like you're not gonna
that's
look
not fair.
sexy,
Yeah.
right? But let's say someone who is what most people wouldn't think, oh, like they're good looking or they have the typical sexy body, but they have that confidence, like that's attractive. So
Yes.
there's different definitions, right?
So I guess you're saying we could be wearing the same outfit, right? And but based on how confident you are, we would be seen as either sexy or not sexy.
Well, I think your confidence plays a role on how people perceive you as being sexy or not. Like you don't necessarily have to be showing a lot of skin to be perceived as looking sexy or
like that.
people thinking like, oh, that person looks sexy right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think sexy is more about confidence and the way you feel about yourself and also the way that other people view you. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be showing skin or having to wear tight clothing. Some people just naturally are more voluptuous than others. So naturally to the public, they appear more sexy. They don't necessarily may not feel sexy. And definitely sexy is in the church. Like I want to be sexy for my man all the time.
Man, I'm
So
telling you, like, I'm sure you'll agree with me that, like, even on the red carpet, there is not as much fashion on the red carpet as there is in church. Because fashion, the red carpet is just once in a while. But these women, we who go to church, we go to church every week. And every week we are on our red carpets and we are always looking good. Christian women like to look good,
yes.
right? But how about when we go to the beach? So this is a very tricky one. Like, I like to go to the beach. I like to look sexy at the beach. But is that okay?
Well,
Like it.
I think it's personally, I think it's fine. I think it really boils down to like where you are in life, you know, like are you a young girl? Are you, you know, in your young adult years looking for a partner? Are you married? Are, you know, like, so all these factors come into play because let's say, for example, you're a young teenage girl. Okay, maybe we have to have a discussion there because when you dress a certain way, you have to think about the attention that you're bringing, right? And I think that's as we grow up and our parents tell us, and this is probably going into another topic, but like when we are told, oh, your dress is too short or your clothes are too tight, I don't think that's necessarily because of Christian dress or reform. It's more like what message are you putting out there for young boys? How are they going to see you? Are they going to see you as a respectable young lady? Or are they going to see you as, oh, this girl's probably loose because look how she's dressed. I'm just going to treat her however. So I think in that term, how you dress at the beach as a young girl or a young lady plays a role. Now, when it comes to you being married or looking for a partner, I think that's where it might change because if you're married, you know, you want to look good for your husband, like you said. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, if someone else has a problem with you looking good because, oh, you're a distraction for your man, well, I'm sorry, that's too bad. That's your fault.
So you're okay with wearing swimwear
Yeah.
at the beach?
Yeah,
It's
like,
swimwear. It's meant for the beach.
Yeah.
It would be different if I'm wearing my swimwear at the office or I'm wearing my swimwear at church. I'm dressed appropriately for the environment that I'm in. So as long as I feel comfortable in my swimsuit, then I'm at the beach. So that's my view of it.
That's something because, you know, there is a school of thought that as Christian women, when we go to the beach, we should be covered. If we should not be showing any skin. But I like to go to the beach and wear my two-piece, even though I'm older, Ashley. I like to wear my two-piece, but this has always been a problem, you know. So I agree with Toneil. Like, you're going to the beach, you go to the beach. That's the fashion for the beach.
Yeah, I think that, you know, sometimes maybe it comes like, again, the whole body image, nudity, you know, not wanting to see people, again, that comes from like sin. So that's why people might feel this way or a taboo school of thought. I don't share that school of thought. I am comfortable in my skin. I am not looking for attention from anyone when I wear my clothes. I wear what makes me feel good. I try to take care of my body for myself as well as my spouse. And when I go to the beach, I want to wear a bathing suit that looks good on me.
That's right.
So it could be a two-piece, it could be a one-piece, it could have cutouts, but I want to be in something that makes me feel good as well as that I look good. So you can wear anything you want. There are some people who are smaller and wear one piece because they just don't like the way they look in a two-piece. There could be people who are a little bit bigger and are confident in their body type and they wear a two-piece. It's totally acceptable to me. Again, my opinion, but I don't think it should be classified as, why would I be covered up to go to the beach to get wet? It just doesn't make sense to me. Like,
I mean, not to labor the point, but I feel like there is the school of thought is that wherever we go, somebody should be able to point us out as Christians.
and I think that should be pointed from your character, the way that you greet
Oh,
people,
I love
the way
it.
that you smile at people, the way that you interact with people. It's your relationship, right? So the relationship that you have with God should filter down to the relationship that you have with others.
That's
So it should
right.
not be about what I look like or how I'm dressed or what jewelry I have on. It should be about character to me.
I don't think there's anything I could say to top that. But I'm still just going to probe a little bit more. We're going to go into the workspace where a lot of people, well, here in Canada, there's not so much emphasis on dress because people just come comfy, and which is good. But have you ever encountered the fashion police, whether it be at work, at church, at home, or at the beach? What's your story? Tell me of a time when you've had to defend your own dress, your sense of style.
Well, I wouldn't say I've had to defend my sense of style. I did, well, when I was younger, probably in like my teen or early teen years. I used to get that typical, your skirt is too tight or it's not long enough, go back and change. So, I have gotten that. And there was one incident where I went to church and I had a brown skirt and it was like down to my, like right here. And then I remember like someone who was in my class and he was like, "Oh, you look like Ellen G."
Oh my God.
I knew he said it as a joke, but it's like, I guess things like that at the time made me feel kind of bad because I'm just like, oh my gosh, like people think I'm like a prophet.
Yeah.
But looking back at it now,
Did that impact your sense of who you style now?
I think maybe that sprouted a little bit of rebellion, like I was mentioning before, in like my older years, where I was just like, no, I'm gonna wear what I want, and I'm gonna look how I want to look. But I don't think it necessarily like scarred me from that one comment. I think it just brought to my attention, like, geez, like
This is how
I
you're
look
looking.
like an old lady.
You look like an old lady. You're too young for that. Do you have a story, Toneil?
I don't necessarily have a story where I've ever had to defend my style. But I know that, people are going to talk, and I just have the personality that I don't really care about what people think.
I know Toneil, and that's Toneil.
Not in a negative
she
way.
is just confident in who she is.
I just feel like at this stage in my life, it's taken me a long time to kind of get to a place where I know who I am and I confidently walk in who I am, and I enjoy my sense of style. I'm learning to wear the things that I think that flatter me.
Yeah.
So I'm not really concerned, right? And I hope that, if someone would be offended or feel that I am distracting or inappropriate to them, that they would speak to me in love.
I love it.
Can I say something too?
Yes.
I think also it really does come from a relationship standpoint with God, whether it's you as a person who's dressing that way or even someone who's viewing it. And the reason I say that is because if we truly believe that we're supposed to be dressing a certain way as Christian women, I think as you form that relationship with God, God himself will tell you or point out certain things to you that you should be dressing a certain way, and it won't bother you. You'll gradually change into what you're supposed to dress, if that's what you believe or what we believe as Christians. And when it comes to people who find it distracting, it's the same thing, because if you have that mentality, it's a relationship that person has with God. Maybe they don't have that relationship yet. That takes time, right? So I don't think we should be looking at people and judging them, like, oh my gosh, look at how tight their skirt is, or look at them wearing certain things. Like, you have to look at it and be like, okay, they're on their journey. When God has come to that point where he's going to speak to them and impress that on their heart, we'll see the change naturally. So you don't have to worry about it being distracting to the point that you have to go and speak your mind and be like, "Rah, rah, rah," like, why are you wearing that?
Which is
Look
exactly how it's done most
right.
times.
And a lot
like,
of times these
sis.
people who are the very ones who are judging you used to dress that way themselves or do worse. So I don't know why they're opening their mouths anyways. But the point is that it's a journey, right? And I think as real followers of Christ, like if you look at Jesus, right, he never judged anyone. Even though he had a standard, he didn't go out of his way to make people feel unloved or feel like, well, because you're not following the standard, you're an outcast.
Wow.
So I think that's the thing that we need to think about. We might have an opinion on something, but that doesn't mean you have to voice that opinion all the time. And
Yes.
even if you do voice that opinion, like Toneil said, you should do it out of love, right? Your intention is, okay, well, I'm going to tell them so that they know better. Okay, well, if it's to instruct, then you say it in a way that's,
That they will-
that's going to be received with, positive criticism, not them feeling bad about themselves. And this is why a lot of people end up leaving the church, as a side note.
Yep, which is true.
But,
which is true.
like you say it in a loving way, like a
Yeah.
way that
Because-
Christ would say it.
Yeah.
So,
Because
in
like
a way that
you
someone
said,
can receive
not-
it too, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I still don't really even understand why people feel the need to speak to people that they don't know or tell someone how to dress or why. You don't know the scenario, right? There's so many circumstances that could be involved in why they came the way they came. That could have been all they have. They could have body changing, not have enough clothes, already not feeling great, but you're like, you know what? I'm going to come as I am. I'm bringing my best. And then you get that feedback or someone makes a
Yes.
comment. It's really discouraging,
Yeah,
right?
it
And
is.
it's a real turnoff from now you thinking like you miss the message of what church is and
Yep.
the community and,
and
like
you
it
go
just-
home feeling
yeah,
defeated. Like,
I
why
don't
did I
wanna
bother to go?
Right.
Right.
And I don't want to be a part of this.
even the whole
And-
experience of trying to look for that Christian love in the church, you're not expecting that judgment,
Yes.
So I think that is a distraction in itself too.
I have one last question, which is going to be a little bit, maybe personal. Both of you have daughters, right? Both of you have daughters. I don't have any daughters, so
I
so
have
good
two,
for
I
me.
have two daughters.
You have two daughters, and you have one daughter, a baby girl coming up. How are you going to navigate this area of their lives? How do you think you will, help them to navigate the dress code that they will be encountering, or these fashion police that they might come in? Or are you going to be a fashion police in your house?
Well, I mean, I can't say because, it's way in the future, but if I was to think of how I might address it, I think the best way is to be an example. So, if she sees how I dress or how I carry myself and it's, appropriate on how a Christian woman should dress, then I think that would be a good template for her to follow. Now, if she decides to dress differently, then again, I think that instruction comes where you speak to them out of love, right? And you don't necessarily criticize them because, as we all know, we've been in that place, right? Like I've been in that phase where like I wanted to wear certain clothes and just dress how I want to dress and look sexy or whatever. So I think we have to remember that we've been there and what our thought process was at that time and try to be understanding about it. So
I agree with setting the example. I allow my children to dress how they want, and it's a freedom of expression. I don't dictate my style on my girls. They each have their own very unique sense of style, and I want to continue to foster that in them. I think that there are spaces where, sometimes as they grow, my youngest daughter is 9 and she's growing. So she might have clothes in her closet that are too small or too short, right? So I just let her know that, if you're going to be doing something that requires you to be on a platform, your skirt's a little bit short because now when people look, they might see. It's not really about
Who she is.
explaining, what sexy is and what's appropriate and inappropriate, just like how it would be viewed, right? And there are spaces that you want to be in where it's like you don't want people to see under your clothes. So just teaching her that and being able to have allow them to have their own sense of style and to allow them to be comfortable in who they
I
are.
like it. I like it. Yeah. So, ladies, I just want you to, look in this camera and just give other women out there who are struggling with, you know, just a sense of how they dress and the struggles they're having with fashion police, whether at church, at work. They want to go to the beach, they want to wear their two-piece, but they're afraid. What is your word of encouragement for these people? What is your advice for them? Maybe a word to help them to be confident in who they are as they wear their clothes, how they express themselves.
My words of encouragement would just be first and foremost, focus on your relationship with God. I think as you focus on that, everything else will fall into place. And your gut will tell you what's appropriate and what's not. If you feel uncomfortable with something and you're trying to fight with it, most likely it's probably something that you shouldn't wear. But if you feel good in it, you feel confident, and you don't have that kind of kickback telling you, oh, maybe I should take this off or whatnot, then I think it's fine to wear.
Thank you.
Well, I would just say that, be confident in who you are. Wear the things that you like, because once you exude the confidence, everyone else will see that, and I don't think that they will feel the need to kind of express their opinions on you because you are exuding that you're comfortable and that you're confident in who you are and whose you are. Again, like Ashley said, I think that it's important that you cultivate a relationship with God, and He'll show you certain things of how to dress, how to be, how to interact with others. The relationship is so key, and that kind of grooms who you are as a Christian woman and as a woman in general.
Yeah, and I think you guys, you're very fashion conscious. I can see that, and trendy. And I'm gonna say, y'all look sexy too.
Thank you.
That's a woman to woman, but that's true.
Thank
So we've come to the end of the show. I'm sure you were moved by some of the comments that were made by these ladies. So if you feel impressed to comment on anything that was said in the show, please drop us a line in the comment section and tell us your story about your encounter with the fashion police, wherever, as a young Christian or mature Christian person. Thank you for joining us on Uncovering My Voice. And for now, it's bye-bye.